Okay. What's going on?
So we got like 15 to 18 inches of snow.
It's still snowing pretty good.
Yeah.
And tomorrow morning I need to leave with the trailer to go out of town. So this is what we do for dates. We go drive around in the army truck to get rid of snow. We have a few ways of getting rid of snow. We have a bulldozer, but it needs a little work. It's over there somewhere. We also have a road grader, but it doesn't like the cold and it's a little slow.
So our preferred method is to use the army truck, and we drag a 1,200-pound backhoe tire behind it.
And we have about a little over 10 miles that we have to do. We also have an old plow truck. The road is so rutted that it's really not, it's hard to do with a truck and a blade. So dragging this tire behind it clears it up good enough to get through with four-wheel drive.
Yep.
We have two army trucks, and usually we use the other one for doing this tire because the heater works. But we've got flat tires on that one, and we're gonna take this one. It's a constant battle. The windows ice up, you can't really see, we hit trees, but it's the adventure. Okay, ready?
Let's do it. So when you're driving the army truck, you have to make very deliberate moves, especially when you're dragging the tire, because you can't just reverse. So we have this little loop right outside our barn where we can make this big turnaround with the army trucks and some of the other bigger vehicles that we have. But so sometimes we have to, you know, just run trees over and make our own path, because you can get kind of wedged and stuck in a spot.
I already went down the driveway with the tractor one time, this part, because it's a pretty steep hill.
See you in a second, puppies.
It'll take us about an hour probably to do the 10 miles. Usually we'll go do part of our neighbor's driveway as well. So the whole trip takes about an hour. And we may have to do it again tonight. I came down the driveway here and it was piling up pretty good, so I didn't want it to get too crazy. It was icy underneath there because it had just been muddy yesterday, so just trying to keep on top of it because I need to get out with that trailer tomorrow.
We have to do this same thing when it's super muddy, not just snowy. The ruts will get really bad, and there's been some places on the driveway we haven't really perfected yet as far as shaping. And so when we get big puddles of mud and when the snow melts, and a lot in the spring, we'll do the same thing. We'll drag the tire behind the truck, make two passes, go down and back, to kind of smooth out the ruts and push some of the water off the road.
It just buys us time between running the grader, because to do this, the worst part that we have to maintain is about 5 miles, and to do that with the grader takes about 5 hours, and we can do that in an army truck. Right now we're going 15, or we can go about 15 or 20 miles an hour, and it gets it pretty good.
This last week was particularly bad because the snow that we had previously, that we've gotten 2 or 3 weeks ago, it finally started melting. And then we had to go to town every day, which isn't normal. We usually just try to go to town like twice a week, but we had to go every single day. And one day we had to go twice. So we made our own problems. We made our own ruts. It was sloshy and messy, and our white vehicles were totally brown. I mean, they were covered in mud. So the ruts underneath this snow are actually really bad. So I'm grateful to have the snow, because riding on snow is like riding on feathers. It's like super soft to drive. It's really easy. You don't slide as much. The mud is so slippery. The mud is so much worse than the snow. So
the tire packs the snow down into the ruts and kind of levels it out. It doesn't scrape it down to bare ground, but it kind of gives you a nice, it's like a groomed trail for snowmobile. I love driving in the snow on fresh snow roads. It's so beautiful.
Las Vegas for 13 years, and then we relocated here to Southern Utah. Well, all the locals here thought we were a little bit crazy for buying property out in the middle of the hills, 18 miles of dirt road, and I think they were a little bit nervous, thinking, oh, these city folk don't know what they're in for. But the truth is that Zach and I both grew up in upstate New York, where it was winter, usually from October to April, and it was not uncommon for me to have to walk to school in 4 to 5 feet of snow. So we both grew up in snow. Like, I grew up sledding and having fun in the snow and having to scrape our windshields and driving on black ice and driving through blizzards and snowstorms. So we tried to reassure people, but I still don't think they believed us. And after our first couple storms, we would go to town, we'd run into people at church, or we'd run into people at the gas station or the grocery store, and they would say, oh, how are you doing? Are you guys surviving up there on the hill up in the mountains? And we were like, yeah, like, we weren't idiots when we bought this land. We knew what we were in for. But the snow is not what bugs me. It's when the snow melts and turns to mud. That is what is so hard to drive in. And it's just messy more than anything. I've learned a new method of jumping in and out of the car. I probably look like a weirdo. She
does really good. She clears the running board by about 2 feet.
I credit my track coach, Coach Pessel, the high jump, because that's about what I feel like I do to get in and out of our cars so that I don't get mud on the back of my coat and my clothes. So here I am. I'm 5'7", and here's my tire. Let's see. Can you see this? Ginormous. This is always really fun.
My dad was 5 foot tall. We had to give him a step ladder to get in here every time.
True story. So how tall do you think those are? Those 48-inch tires?
I think they're 46 inches.
46.
We just bought some new ones that were 53 because these ones are too small. So we got some taller ones so that we can really go through some muddy spots.
That's right.
Actually, they're the only ones available on the auction, but why not have bigger tires?
Go big or go home. That's what I say.
The windshield wipers in this are pneumatic, so they're always a little funky. There's no rubber on there either, so it doesn't really clean it.
Christmas Eve. We had gone to some Christmas festivities at my parents' house. We came home and we go out on our deck and we take a tape measure and we measure, and there is 18 inches of snow. So Zach shovels off the deck and he said, you know, before I go to bed tonight, I better go run the tire down the road. He goes and he does it and he comes back, and we wake up the next morning and go out on the deck, and there's 18 more inches of snow on our deck. So had he not done that, we would have been trying to push 36 inches of snow out of the way at one time. And in some spots it had drifted and was actually more than that. So although we like to think that this army truck is indestructible, and a lot of times if we're going somewhere or we're doing something and push some trees down fast, we'll just use the army truck and we'll plow over them. But we really don't want to test it too much. We need this baby. It's better when we clear 15 to 18 inches just to be safe, and then whatever falls, we'll do another quick run, or we'll have Lincoln do a quick run down the driveway. So we don't want too much snow to pile up. It could become problematic.
There are times when it will spin out when it gets on ice, even though it's six-wheel drive and it's a big heavy thing. And rubber tires are on ice, they don't grip. So I need to get a pair of tire chains and put them on one set of wheels, and I think we'd be in good shape. Approaching our neighbors, so we're just gonna go do a quick plow for them, save them a little headache. But already I can tell they've only gotten 2/3, maybe half the amount of snow that we had up on the mountain. So yeah, it always just kind of confirms to me how crazy we are. Okay, we're on our way back up, and the way down it's all downhill. It's about 800 feet lower in elevation here than at our house. And so usually on the way back I put it in low gear or low range, and the maximum top speed in low range is 26 miles an hour, but it just works through the gears, makes the transmission work easier, and doesn't pull hard. The only limitation is, for some reason, it says not to use reverse in low. So once we put it in low, try to just go.
the Army truck has a suspension like a dump truck. So it's kind of a rough ride. So I'm hoping that I can gimbal this enough for you so you don't get car sick watching this. Making the second pass is a little bit tricky. If you go a little slower, you can kind of plan a little bit where the tire goes, but the tire is also a little bit of a wild card. As you go around turns or hit a little debris in the road that might be frozen down, sometimes it bumps the tire all around. So trying to make the second pass so that it makes the path twice as wide instead of going where the first pass went can sometimes be a little tricky, but in the time that we've been gone, it has stopped snowing. Here we are coming back up on our final leg of our journey. And so they had predicted snow through 8 o'clock tonight, but it doesn't appear as if we're gonna get any more snow. So I'm actually glad that we got to do this during the daytime, and we won't have to probably make another run tonight and clear the road off again. So it was a good idea.
It's been a couple days after the storm, and we're just getting now to clearing the rest of our roads. And so today we've got the kids here hooked up with a sled behind the tire. We're gonna try to get through and get everything cleared off. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
You excited?
Yeah.
Or scared?
Both.
It's sunny and warm. Well, I mean, warm is in like 30 degrees. And we're gonna plow the roads, let the kids have some fun. I'll be driving the truck, so anyway. Looks like the kids are ready.